You received a call from an inmate at the Department of Corrections. This call will be recorded and monitored. If you wish to block any future calls of this nature, dial 7 now to accept this call, press 5 now to decline this call, hang up.
Hello, Laquisha. How are you? Oh, I am very well. Sure is nice to hear from you. Ah, good. Yes, I've heard a lot about that program. So hopefully you'll be able to make it through with no problem. Get out into the free world and never go back there again. Have yourself a wonderful job. Get your family back together. You know, all the good stuff that we want for you guys. Good. Yep, and you have all my support. There's a lot of people behind you. Just want you to know that you're not alone. Anytime you stumble, anytime you have any problems, you definitely let us know. Well, yeah, I know. You're doing a very good job in there. You're helping out a lot of people, and there's people out here that got your back as well. Oh, you know, I do like JPay. It has a purpose, but it's just a money-making scheme. Everything they do, they want to make money. And it's just a shame that people are using JPay to try to get you guys to make a profit. Well, yeah, I'm sure they do know that you guys are not allowed to make a profit in there. Except, you know, there's a few people inside who don't know that, or who are willing to bend the rules to try to do something. And that's probably why they're reaching out to you. Okay, so they want you paying for a singles line. Oh, wow. And make products, send it to them, and then they're going to sell it on your behalf. Well, that's kind of clever. Well, okay, I got you. I got you. It just doesn't sit right with me, you know? That's crazy. Well, good. I'm glad you're not even going to entertain that notion. But, you know, a lot of people in there, they abuse the system too. They're reaching out, they're saying they want to meet people, and all they want is for somebody to send them money. Well, yeah, I've run across a few of the people like that. And if you're trying to give people the impression that you're reformed and you're ready to get out, you know, asking folks to send money and telling them that you love them and you want to be with them, yeah. Well, what? Yeah, I know there are some legitimate people out there who are really looking for romance, and they like the idea of entertaining or wooing somebody who's locked up. And it works on both sides, male, female. It's just that I believe supportive relationships are strong and can really help people get away from this nonsense, you know, that they're caught up in. Okay, I see what you're saying there. Communication is important. Family values are important. Well, yeah, okay. But, you know, cheating on people. You know, if
you have 60 seconds remaining.
If you're talking to somebody on JPay or on the phone, even if you have crazy, risque conversations, I don't think too much. I don't think that's really going to be cheating on somebody. But I could see how somebody could get jealous or upset about it. So we definitely have to watch out for something like that. Well, I'm glad you gave me that information. I'll run with it, see what kind of things I can do on this side.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
It's just that when the people advertise on my site, or if I take them under my wing, you know, I'm really hoping that they're going to want somebody that's real and not to use them, on both sides. But I can't control who answers the ad. Okay, young lady, you take care of yourself, and I'll be talking to you later, and I'll look into this. Oh, yeah, I'll let them all know. Welcome to a QS Inmate Call. My name is Joel Wilborn, and in this episode, I spoke with Laquisha Gray, and she was concerned about people reaching out to incarcerated folks in an effort to make some money. We have online profiles, and people have to pay to have their profile and their picture put online so that people can send JPay messages to the incarcerated people, or write letters to them, or take phone calls. And it's bad enough that people on the outside have to pay just to talk to their loved ones locked up. But then to have little individuals and groups out there that try to go one step further and suck money out of these folks that don't even make $1 an hour. One of the factors that causes people to commit crime is poverty. So these families are struggling as it is. You have a loved one who goes to prison, and the family income is dropped. If there's a 4-person family, 2 children, 2 adults, and one of the adults goes to prison, then you're going to have a single parent with a single income trying to stay in communication with the incarcerated family member and trying to support the family. And see, that's where supportive relationships come in, where we can come out and help those guys to make ends meet until the loved one gets out. Now, if the loved one is in there and somebody says, hey, you can make some money out here, just, you like to do some croquet, or, and so why don't you stitch up some stuffed animals and stuff, send them to us, and we'll sell them, and then you can make a profit. And, it sounds good because they're struggling, and they want to try to help their family, and they want to try to buy some stuff from the commissary in prison. So, this sounds appealing to them. In reality, it's just a bunch of con people trying to make an easy buck. And we've all heard stories about how people make money while in prison, writing books and maybe a high-profile people doing interviews. And I think that's better served out of prison. If a person gets out and wants to talk about things that happened in prison, and I encourage that a lot, especially with my interviews, they're talking about what's going on in prison. And I'm trying to get the word out so that people will know what's going on in there. I don't want to use these folks, which would pretty much put me in the same category as the folks that were locked up. They commit a crime, get convicted, go to prison, and then I would be out here using them, conning them, lying to them, deceiving them. All these things that we shun upon and lock people up for in the first place. But that's society. That's what people do. And you just got to be wise to that. There's tragedies that happen out there, and groups get together and say, hey, we're collecting money to try to help the victims of this tragedy, and they want to suck money out of the people who fall for this. And even when the government offers assistance, extra unemployment benefits for the added cost of the pandemic, and criminals want to try to take that money. It's just, you've got people who have some pretty good talent, but they're using them for illegal profit. And whereas we have the public criticizing folks that are locked up, these are bad people and they need to be locked up for a very long time, the real threat to them are the people that are living next to them committing these crimes. And the people who are taking advantage of victims and situations that have an outward appearance of being good, but is really just a deception. And when I advertise a person on my website, these people are reaching out to me and saying, I'm lonely. I want somebody to talk to. And they're not asking me for money, or they're not asking to get somebody to send them supplies and buy things for them. They're generally just want to talk, and a lot of times they'll talk with me. I'll send them a message and they'll send a response, and we just get a rapport going. And I've gotten to know a lot of people that way. And it's also made me a very dangerous person in the state of Washington because I talk to so many people. They consider me a threat. And there are people that do that. They'll get in there and they'll prey on the women, or they'll prey on the men. And they'll just go from person to person to person. And that's something that the prison should be protecting the inmates from. And I could see them sticking me into that category, but locking me out just because I have 40 or 50 people that I talk to, that doesn't work with me. Yet that's what they do. And yet there's still people that slip through the system. So I as a prison reformist, I want to change this. I want to get in there and find out what's going on. And if I go in there and they treat me like a person who wants to help them, I don't really prove anything. But if I get in there and with all the good intentions and I get jilted, that's the kind of stuff that I want to report. And when you reach out to a person through JPay and you want to get to know that person, and then you're suddenly blocked, or you suddenly have your services criticized or something, you begin to understand what's going on. And with some of the prison systems out there, that happens quite a bit. There's a lot of people that get beat up for trying to do the right thing. And then there's those who are doing the wrong thing, and then they get beat up. And then you have the system that has to be tweaked. Policies have to be changed. And that's a good thing. When there's people who go to visit their loved one, and they're just practically distrusted. You must be smuggling in something, so we have to really check you out. And if that happens quite a bit and visitors are sneaking stuff in, I can understand that. But if you got a person that's been visiting somebody for a few years and has never even attempted to bring in contraband, these people shouldn't be treated like the enemy. And likewise, they shouldn't be completely trusted, because it could happen either way. A person could bring in sunshine and happiness, or the person could just kind of flip and start bringing in contraband. So you always have to be on the lookout. But just don't treat everybody as the enemy and with disrespect. You know, I've seen cases where people go to visit and they felt like they were being treated like they were the most hardcore criminal in there. You know, here they are coming to visit their loved one and they're treated as if they're a serial killer that's been convicted and kind of escaped or something. I don't know. I'm trying to get supportive relationships out into the public to show the value of them. And there are ways to tell the good from the bad. I remember when I was looking at a documentary on the dating game killer, when he was on the show, The Dating Game, and he won. The young lady who picked him, she said once she saw him face to face, she had a bad feeling about it and refused to go out on a date with him. You know, she had this sixth sense that protected her. And that was a good thing. And, you know, we don't want to misinterpret that. Yet, being cautious, there's nothing wrong with that. If you don't feel comfortable about something, don't do it. And we should have that option out here. And I'm sure that, you know, after many, many years of seeing people come and go, visiting and being incarcerated, there's prison officials who can pretty much tell when a situation is not right. And then there are those who take advantage of it. And with the prison system, we need to keep an eye on that. We need to make sure that they're not just letting anybody speak to people through JPay, anybody send out telephone numbers, you know, and get calls and stuff. There's criminals on all angles, all sides. And I don't mind people being a little cautious on that. Just be respectful about it. And with some of the women that I talk to in the prison, they get some sexually explicit material come through, and they're wondering, how did this get through the censors? Why is this coming to me? And they feel very uncomfortable about it. And these people manage to keep going and going and going. And they just wonder why this isn't being blocked. You know, one of the girls said she was having a problem with her girlfriend, and she didn't want to talk to her. You know, she wanted to take some time out. So her girlfriend pretended to be somebody else. So she said she's talking to her girlfriend, thinking it's somebody else, you know, for several weeks until she finally discovers who this is. And that's the kind of stuff that makes me nervous. Because when you have a restraining order against somebody and then that person uses JPay to contact the person, or uses somebody else's address to send a letter, or gets a message through deception to call, we need to keep an eye on that. The folks inside the prison are right there. We know where they are all the time. They're not going to wander off. And they're not going to get out and cause any harm. That's why they're in prison. Yeah, once they're locked up in there, it's the government's responsibility to keep them safe, and especially to keep crime out of there. So I am really hoping that we can get through these prison systems out there to keep an eye on JPay and phone calls and letters, so that this type of wrongful activity doesn't continue. And yes, I know there's people in there that, you really don't care about, like serial killers and sex offenders. You might think, I don't care what happens to them. Yet there's a cost to society. It could be financial, it could be moral cost, it could be, affecting children and causing trauma, putting people in the hospital, stress, anger, maybe lashing out. And when it's like when you're raising your own children and you're in a home, you expect them to be safe in the home. We expect them that if we lock them up, we put them in there, they should be safe until they get out. Then they're on their own. And that's where organizations such as mine, such as the American Quit-In Society, comes along and to try to help the people transition back into society. So I suggest that we keep an eye on prison officials, the prison system, and even the judicial system. Make sure that we're locking up the people that's going to be okay. And if we feel that there's a danger of them going to prison, we should try an alternative form. I would really like to get rid of prisons. But until that day, we need to keep people safe on both sides. And I hope that you will reach out to some of these nonprofits and charities and support them so that they can help these folks stay out of the danger that they're subjected to once they walk through those prison doors, and then help them get back into society and not go back. It's very hard to commit a crime when people surround you who are willing to help. If it's because of poverty and there's people that are willing to help you financially, there's no reason to commit the crime. If there's an addiction and there's people willing to help you get into a rehab or get into a different area, away from the people that bring them down, I think that's going to work. That's what the supportive relationships do. We can keep people out. And then we don't need prisons. But, that's me. I'm going to keep fighting the fight, even though I keep running into resistance every chance that they can do. If they can throw it at me, they'll throw it at me. And the harder I try and the more they push, just shows that I'm making success. So if you run into resistance for doing the right thing, then you're touching on something. So it's not a bad thing. Never consider that a bad thing when you're fighting for the right thing. It's a bad thing when you're fighting for the wrong thing. Like some of these people that are trying to get money from the inmates. Ugh, why do that? Well, thanks for tuning in, and I hope you will fight the fight with us. I hope you will watch the videos on my YouTube channel. And I hope you go out and you have yourself a wonderful day and make beautiful memories for tomorrow.